Welcome in to Locked On Knicks. Alex Wolf here, breaking down a 114 to 109 win by the Knicks over the Lakers. Isaiah Hartenstein did his best Mitchell Robinson impression to get the Knicks back on track on defense. Julius Randle played some serious bully ball and took a few Knicks to show for it. And Jalen Brunson came through down the stretch, as well as Immanuel Quickley having a phenomenal offensive game. I'm going to get into it all and more next on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome in to Locked On Knicks. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Knicks first listen today and every day, whether you're checking us out on your favorite podcast platform or taking in sights and sounds on YouTube. We appreciate you making us a part of your daily routine. Make sure you hit that auto download function on your favorite podcast app or the notification bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode. And I am Alex Wolf. I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site, The Strickland, which you can find at thestrick.land. And your Knicks won this game 114 to 109 over the Lakers to finish off their road trip 2-2, which I thought was pretty impressive. So I thought this was a solid team effort by the Knicks. They helped. It helped to be up against a team that just isn't that phenomenal at shooting the three. But I feel like the Knicks kind of got their mojo back on the defensive end in this game. Did a good job walling off the paint and making sure that they had enough time to recover to guys. Made sure that they also didn't completely give up wide open looks from three. There was a few, like D'Angelo Russell got a few looks and whatever. But all in all, I think it was a pretty solid defensive strategy in this one, which was just kind of make LeBron and Anthony Davis as uncomfortable as you could and force the other guys to beat you, which is, I think, usually a fairly good strategy against the Lakers. Ending this West Coast swing at 2-2 also, I think, is huge considering they lost the one game they're supposed to win against the Jazz. So then to come out with 2 wins against the Suns and Lakers, I mean, it would have been certainly nicer to come out 3-1 out of this road trip, and I think would have been a lot more the press would be super favorable in favor of the Knicks right now. Just as far as what their outlook is for the rest of the season and stuff like that. But still I find some encouragement in this. Like, bad losses are going to happen from time to time. Hopefully, the Knicks have shown that they can minimize those, and hopefully they do and don't have many more games like that Jazz game. But the wins against Phoenix and then this one against LA, obviously super super good and encouraging and what you want to see on a road trip like this, where it's always hard to go take that West Coast swing and have to play 4 games on the other coast in a completely different time zone and all that. So the Knicks in this game went up double digits in the first half, and they unfortunately let up a 19-6 Laker run to end the half down a point. But things went back and forth in the second half. They're starting to look a little dire for the Knicks at one point, but a strong run from the bench followed by a strong closeout performance by Brunson put it away and won the game. So it was, things you love to see. Strong Julius Randle to start, strong Brunson to end the game. Great bench play in the middle that really swung the game for the Knicks. It was kind of your standard Knicks basketball game, standard Knicks win. Jericho Sims started this game, twisted his ankle in the opening tip, which I didn't even catch at the time. I guess I must have just not. I think I was already starting my notes in my document, and I didn't watch the opening tip. But apparently, he landed on Anthony Davis's foot and twisted his ankle and fell over. Then he was out there for like 3.5 minutes still, though, after that, and then kind of went to the bench, was clearly limping a bit, and had 2 fouls and wound up going to the back and just never re-entered the game. Tibbs called it a sprained ankle after the game. Taj Gibson got 6 minutes and was also kind of limping, and he says he just kind of took a little bump, so nothing too severe there. But it was on Isaiah Hartenstein then to set the tone defensively and on the glass, and man, he had just a phenomenal game in this one. 9 points, 17 rebounds, 7 offensive, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals, 3 of 4 from the field. Played a career high 38 minutes and 51 seconds. So I mean, just an amazing game for Hartenstein across the board. I hope that this is the catalyst that sees him enter the starting lineup because I think it's about time. I think that he did his best Mitch impression in this one. Is the best way, is the most complimentary way that I can put it. And I mean, he still did some Hartenstein things. Had a nice cut at one point, had a nice pass on a cut at one point to, set up someone for a bucket. So, did some Isaiah Hartenstein type things, but also just muscled the crap out of the Lakers on the inside, intimidated the crap out of them, as they were trying to get to the hoop and all that. I mean, I think that he did a really good job of walling off the paint. He made guys like LeBron and AD uncomfortable down low, which you have to do that against the Lakers, but also that's no easy task. Like that's one of the two best players to ever play basketball, and a guy in AD who is really having himself a good year this year. Probably arguably his best one in a Laker uniform to this point. So I mean, I thought that he did a really good job of making them uncomfortable. He also kept guys in front of him long enough for a double team to come and either force a turnover, at least force a kick out or a uncomfortable shot. I think that he did a great job in that regard, and so the rest of the team of identifying like, all right, let's do what we can to make the two biggest stars on this team feel uncomfortable and make the rest of the guys beat us, which obviously they didn't in the end. I also thought that rebounding for Hardenstein was on the highest level for him. He really did look like Mitch, which is the greatest compliment you could pay anyone when they're rebounding the ball, is to say they look like Mitchell Robinson. He did a phenomenal job. He was just like in the mix for every single rebound. Had a lot of instances where he was sort of right there and in a sea of Laker bodies, and then just kind of found a way to tap it to someone and get a sequence started where the ball ended up making it back out to the perimeter, and one of his teammates can end up with it and start a new sequence, get an extra chance on offense. Just really key stuff from him there as far as rebounding the ball. He also kept the fouls under control and just went straight up and down for the most part, and which is really impressive considering he ended with 2 blocks and 2 steals. Like, so he ended up with 4 stocks, but still, he only had 3 fouls in 39 minutes, and I thought he should have only had 2 fouls. He at one point went straight up and down contesting LeBron, and like he was moving with LeBron. So he was, going, LeBron was on a drive, but Hartenstein took a nice jump where he stayed in the air with LeBron straight up and down, never impeded his progress. And then LeBron elbows Hartenstein in the face and caught him like right under the chin. And Hartenstein got called for the foul there for some reason, which I guess you could just attribute to LeBron and the respect that he's gathered among referees and all that. But all in all, I thought it was a really, really solid performance from Hartenstein. I thought that he was the one that was sort of the biggest swing factor in this game, and his ability to keep the paint under control and to not foul, and to contest guys and keep them in front of him and keep his hands up and basically just do all the stuff that Mitch normally does was huge for this team. So like I said, I hope that the Knicks put their best foot forward. Just start starting him. I mean, I understand that Tibbs loves him with the bench unit or whatever. But if you can commit to, hey, Hardenstein, as long as you stay out of foul trouble, let's get you like 30, 35 minutes a game, something like that. You can start. You can still get some time with the bench. Bring Taj Gibson off the bench for, the extra 10 to 15 minutes a game, however many you need him, and I think that you'd be in good shape then. So I'm down for that. I also still think the Knicks should probably look for another big other than just Taj Gibson, but what do I know? Maybe they see that. I mean, even if Jericho Sims comes back, like, and isn't affected by the sprained ankle, bring him off the bench. I don't understand not putting your best foot forward to start a game, and potentially start games, start halves, and then certainly to end games with Hartenstein. I just think it makes too much sense not to do that. But we'll see what Tibbs does in the next game. I want to talk about Julius Randle as well, who had 27 points, 14 boards, 3 assists, just 2 turnovers. Also, Jalen Brunson coming through in the end with 29 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 of 6 from 3, as well as Immanuel Quickley, who had a really good game as well. So 4 really, really great individual games in this one for the Knicks. Plus, why, if you're looking at the box score and you didn't feel like staying up till like whatever it was, 1:30 last night, Why RJ Barrett's box score might be a little misleading because I thought that he did more than what his 3 of 10 shooting line said. And I'll get to that in just a sec. But first, I gotta let you all know about our eBay Motors Fantasy Player of the Week. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So let's see who Josh picked for us this week in eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. There's one name that jumps out to me on this is someone who plays in a 9 cat league, which is that you're scored on 9 categories. The way my league works, it's not weekly matchups. It's actually an entire a running season total for the entire season, which is pretty interesting. And this guy has been filling it up lately. Tari Eason on the Houston Rockets. And Josh's notes here, he's still coming off the bench, but it doesn't really matter as Ime Udoka has found minutes for him. He's a strong fantasy value per minute option who becomes useful to everyone as these minutes tick up. And those minutes have certainly been ticking up lately. He's been averaging more like 20 to 30 minutes per game and just filling every single category of the stat sheet, especially rebounds, blocks, steals. Been getting some points as well, shooting a high percentage. So I really like Eason. That was a guy that I really liked going into the draft last year as well. So I'm happy to see him, figuring it out and playing really well and making an impact for this Rockets team that is really surprising. I don't think a lot of people saw the Rockets being as good as they are so far this year. So props to Eason. I think he would make a great addition, especially if you play a 9 cat like I do, where you need every single one of those statistical categories every single night. He's going to put a little something into every single category for you, which is always useful. So Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit, and that's the same with your vehicle. If you have like if you've ever personally had an experience where you have to get a car part, it can be a little daunting. If you go into an auto parts store or whatever, it's like, you don't have to deal with that. Who likes going into stores that much anymore? Honestly, I like doing most of my shopping online. That's where eBay Motors has come in clutch for me before, because I've had a personal experience where something so simple as I wanted to get little wheel caps, not hubcaps, just like little emblems to go inside my wheels on my Toyota Prius, because I had one of my hubcaps fly off and then get told it was not covered in warranty just a month into owning my car. And I was like, well, I'm not going to spend, they were going to charge me like $100 for one more hubcap. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen. So I went ahead and just took all the hubcaps off, and there was actually some pretty nice rims underneath, but they just had a unsightly little hole in the middle. So I looked it up, and there's a first party Toyota part I was able to get off eBay Motors, and it was only like $60, I think, for 4 of them, which, still probably a little overpriced for a little emblem like that, but it's a car, so it is what it is at that point. Put that in my car, and it's looked great ever since. And my car, doesn't even need those ugly hubcaps that I had initially. So with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof rack, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay guarantee fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right. And I'm back in to keep going over this Knicks game and this big Knicks win on the road to finish off this road trip against the Lakers. And Julius Randle had a very Julius Randle game in this one: 27 points, 14 boards, 3 assists, just 2 turnovers, which was great, and shot 12 of 22. I thought this was a real, I should also say 12 of 22 shooting, but only 1 of 4 from three. So he did a ton of damage on the inside. I Best thing I could think of to call this game for Julius was a lunch pail performance. It was like very like blue collar, just went in there, did his work, got down and dirty and got into the paint and took a bunch of shots and everything else. And the Knicks really needed that from him. They needed him to play bully ball in this game, and he really, really did. Tibbs was clearly trying to match his minutes with LeBron, but also didn't have Julius match LeBron's first rest. I can't remember if that was because Julius was like at the free throw line or something, but uh, Julius ended up playing the first like 20 minutes consecutively, if not a little more, in this game, and ended up with 43 and a half minutes to lead the team. And yet the Knicks really needed like all that, I think. He had 10 points in the first quarter, 16 in the first half, really kept that offense afloat, especially early on in this game, as well as an Immanuel Quickley flurry in the first quarter as well. But they needed that contribution out of Randle early on in this game, and he really took a lot of hits in this game too. Like I feel like the Knicks, this is one of those teams just with Anthony Davis by himself almost that is a little intimidating on the inside, and like Anthony Davis might not necessarily have the rep as like a bruiser necessarily, considering his injury history and everything else. But I mean, he is a force on the inside. I mean, he always has been. Like as long as he's healthy, like he's going to rebound the crap out of the ball. He's going to, contest every single shot. He's going to make your life difficult. Potentially block your shot almost every time you go into the paint if you don't come correct and don't like get an elbow in there or get a little shoulder dip in there to create a little space for yourself. And Randall did all that and then some, especially early on in this game, and took a bunch of hits in this game. He had to get 4 stitches in his lip after taking a shot to the face from Rui Hachimura, which, by the way, didn't go called. He looked like and it was kind of on a follow through, so I could sort of appreciate that not getting called, but I don't know. When you do something to bust the guy's lip open, it's kind of messed up. Literally went up to the ref, like they had footage where Randall after that play went up and was like, "Do you see my lip? I'm bleeding all over the place. Like, how did you not call this?" Because it looked pretty nasty, and I think they had to Vaseline him up until he could get him into the halftime locker room, and then finally got to stitch him up. And yeah, apparently 4 stitches, pretty nasty stuff. Um, but yeah, he also looked like he kind of tweaked his ankle at one point in the paint. Took a really hard fall trying to drive at one point, but he recovered from each one. The ankle obviously worried me a little bit. That made me think of last year's playoffs. And so I hope that if Randall, feels like that is hurt or whatever, that he's not afraid to, at minimum, be like, hey, can I play like 25 minutes in this next game, just to keep off that ankle a little bit. But we know it's Julius Randle and he's going to just keep playing through it. So if he feels okay, he'll be good. And obviously he was good through the rest of this game. Just it was a scary moment. I don't want to see that dude mess up his ankle again because he's playing his best ball right now, and so hopefully if he needs a maintenance day, he takes it. He also, I think this is one of the funniest moments for Julius in this game. Had a hilarious non-called shove on D'Angelo Russell getting to the hoop at one point, and I don't know, it looked malicious, man. I was like, I feel like it probably wasn't. It probably was just that D'Lo was kind of exaggerating the contact and flying back a bit. But to watch it live, it looked like Julius just used his full strength and just pushed him away, and then didn't get called for it. So I guess the refs agreed that D'Lo was exaggerating a little bit, and Randall ended up getting a bucket off of that. But I guess no love lost from their Laker days. They did both inhabit this team together at one point after getting drafted in back-to-back drafts. So yeah, no love lost, I guess. And maybe Randall was not a fan of Russell during his snitch days back in the day when he was with the Lakers in his first stint. Jalen Brunson as well had a really, really great game. 29 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 3 of 6 from 3. He just completely took over down the stretch once again. And the Knicks needed a steady hand to close this game. He had 11 points in the fourth, including a clutch 3, including a couple floaters. I mean, it was just a vintage Brunson, I guess, if you want to call it that. Not quite the 50-point masterclass from the other day, but I think he's been giving the team exactly what they need scoring wise in the most critical moments. He had a team high plus 17 in this as well, just ahead of Hartenstein's plus 15. And the thing that dominated this game was this footage of Jalen Brunson getting coached up by his dad and, looking miserable as like probably like a 13 or 14-year-old, where his dad was apparently coaching for Virginia at the time. And they're like outside on this like court in the July heat. And, Rick Brunson's telling Jalen, like, come on, man, like, get down the court. Come on, the work, you got to work. You got to be motivated, blah, blah, blah. And, like Brunson just is looking like, ugh. And, there's this little clip with Brunson addressing it in the locker room prior to the game and just being like, yeah, I think I was just more mad at like that we were at Virginia that had this nice, like, new air conditioned practice facility, and he's got me outside on this, like, asphalt court, like, sweating like crazy and dealing with 90 something degree Virginia heat. Um, Said some form of naughty word in there. He's like, "I didn't wanna be out in this effing heat," or whatever he said, during that interview. But, yeah, it was, that was pretty funny, but as far as what the Knicks needed and got from Brunson in this one, it was I don't know how much more there is to say. Like, you guys saw the 50-point game the other day, right? I actually haven't gotten to watch that yet, because I was away for my wedding anniversary, but, I understand it was quite fantastic. So I don't think this quite measured up to that, but, just a standard 29-point awesome game for Jalen Brunson in this one. Um, I don't know what more to say about what he gives you on offense at this point, except for the fact that he's uber consistent and is giving the Knicks exactly what they need every single game closing out. I want to get to Immanuel Quickley, though, who I think finally really got rewarded in this game for having a great start to the game, a great second half, and then got to close the game, which was pretty cool. Uh, but first, I got to remind you all today's show is brought to you by Game Time. And I don't know about you guys, but I've had some less than desirable ticket buying experiences in my life. I have, gone to buy tickets last minute and then been hit with high prices all across the board and basically told, well, if you want to go to this game or this concert or this Broadway show or whatever, you should have planned sooner because now you don't get to go because it's going to be super, super expensive. I don't like that because I'm not a plan ahead guy. I'm kind of a last minute vibe check. Maybe I want to go to a game this weekend. Maybe I want to go to a game tonight kind of guy. So I can always appreciate when an app has my back as far as my procrastination and buying things. And Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. And you could see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. They're all in prices, so you're total up front, so you're getting a great deal without the hidden fees. And you could buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. So literally on your walk to Madison Square Garden, you could buy some tickets to the Knicks game, which is great. But you might be like, well, but they're going to price gouge and it's going to be terrible. I may as well just buy them from a scalper off the street. No, that's not wise either. Never do that. Go to Game Time because they have deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even up to an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last minute seats. And you can get exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. So if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, and I'm back in to keep talking through the end of this Knicks game. And Immanuel Quickley, 20 points in this game, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 8 of 15, 3 of 7 from three in a whopping 29 minutes, which you love to see from Immanuel Quickley. Finally, he gets rewarded for his good play. Was my number one note. It seems so often that we see Quickley still get just like 22 minutes, even if he has a really good couple stints out there. So it's good to see that he got to close this game. And he really, I mean, he did exactly what the Knicks needed in the first quarter. He basically scored I was going to say a point a minute. That was what he did for about his first 15 or so minutes of this game, because I think he had 15 points in 15 minutes. But he scored really 2 points a minute for his first 5 minutes, because he had 11 points in his first 5 minutes to push the Knicks out to a 35-27 lead at the end of the first quarter. His first shot that he made was this sidestep three. And I feel like that's always a good sign. Like if IQ starts with that sort of shot, you just know that you're in for a good game from him. And I don't know. I just loved what I saw from him shooting from three. 3 of 7 is exactly what I would expect and want from him every single game. He hit another really clutch one at the end of the first quarter with the time expiring, or not quite expiring, but I think he only left half a second left on the clock. Made that three, which was huge for the Knicks as well. all in all, just did what you expect out of him. Good defense, moved the ball well, um, and ultimately got rewarded for it. Which again, like I said, was my biggest takeaway for Quickly in this one. Gets to actually close a game and actually have a say in the end of a game, thanks to playing really well, which is all you could ever hope for this kid because he's just one of the most consistent players on the team as far as effort level, as far as defense, all that stuff. So good to see him get rewarded. RJ Barrett ends with 12 points in this game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, only shot 3 of 10. And if you're just looking at the box score, that looked kind of underwhelming, but I actually did think he had some nice ways to offset that. The fact that he wasn't shooting well. I mean, the first thing, like, he had a really hard time with the Lakers' length inside. Like, he just opened this game by just getting swallowed up by Anthony Davis multiple times inside and just really not looking comfortable there. And I thought we were going to be in for a rough game in that regard, but he kind of figured out ways to make things work. So he did sort of a Randle impression in the second quarter. He was drawing the defense in on a couple plays and trying to kind of get that double team and then find the kick out, find the shooter on the outside. And the Knicks weren't really making the most of those early on, at least with the kickouts that he was generating. But the thought was there, and he was doing it. And I think might have had a dump off to Hartenstein at one point. Like had one where that really worked out really well, and created an opportunity for another teammate on the inside. I also thought he played some really solid defense in the second half and had a couple nice possessions in a row in, I want to say, the late third, early fourth quarter. It was when, the Knicks were kind of going on their run to like get back into things after it looked like they were maybe going to not finish this game the strongest. They had a nice little resurgence, and RJ was part of that, where he played some really good defense and generated a couple turnovers, if not directly by him getting his hand on the ball, at least like giving the pressure and showing and doing that. And also had a really nice like one-on-one possession versus D'Angelo Russell, where he kind of stuck to him around a screen and contested the three really well. So that was nice to see as well. I mean, it's the little things, but like you want to see that stuff out of a player like RJ if he's going to get high minutes regardless. And if, he's having an off shooting night, at least he finds ways to, keep himself productive on the floor. DiVincenzo and Hart, I just kind of wrote, had typically good stints. They had about 20 minutes each. Hart had a mystery trip to the locker room at one point. Maybe he had to do a number two. I'm not sure what went on there. Seemed like maybe people were like, "Oh, is he injured? I don't know what's going on." Well, turned out he got back in the game later, was fine. Nobody even really questioned it. So I guess just had to use the restroom or something. But DiVincenzo and Hart just kind of inoffensively good games for them. Not too much to note there, but unfortunately, Quentin Grimes kind of underwhelmed me in this one, and I thought looked really uncomfortable. Shot 1 of 5 at one point, just like took this really tentative take in transition and got bottled up by Torian Prince, which I think was the low light for him, but obviously did not shoot well from three either. He shot 1 of 4 from three. I don't know, man. I don't like seeing Grimes looking like this. I wish that we could bottle up that great performance that he had with Hart last week and make that the new normal. But it seems like he's sort of still dealing with some of the tentativeness and being unsure of himself. So hopefully he's able to get through that soon. I guess we'll see, but not the best end to this road trip for Quentin Grimes. But anyway, the Knicks finish off this quote unquote road trip on Wednesday. Obviously, these first 4 games, no questioning it. It was a road trip. They were out west, but they are going to be against the Nets in Barclays, aka MSG East, to finish off this road trip on Wednesday before getting Milwaukee 2 times in a row at MSG, culminating on Christmas. So, again, I would say it's much similar to the Jazz game at the beginning of this road trip. This game against the Nets, probably kind of a must win before you go up against the Milwaukee Bucks twice in a row. And the Bucks have really had the Knicks number so far this year. So hopefully they can get that win in Barclays and at least end this road trip on even though the West Coast swing was the real tough part of it. Technically speaking, still a 5th road game coming up in this. So hopefully they can end this road trip 3-2 and then go and maybe take 1 of 2 against Milwaukee. I think that would be a rousing success and be a good way to push towards the end of the year and hopefully go into 2024 with some really good momentum. So I guess we'll see how it goes the rest of the week. But until then, thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace out, everybody.